Okay. Instagram, can you guys hear us? Give me a thumbs up, a wave, a heart emoji.
I'm here. Yeah. Make sure we can hear all three of us.
Can you guys hear me?
You're not as crystal clear as you used to be. And I hear myself in the echo.
Yeah, Lauren, because you're muted on StreamYard. Okay, so Tara just said yes. She can hear us. Okay.
Hey, we'll figure this out by episode 50, guys.
Yeah, we're only 2 episodes in. So anyone that is here is watching us grow. And this is perfect for our topic today.
Well,
Lauren, so you're muted still.
I know. I'm muting it because I can't get a bit of my Instagram sound, I don't think.
Oh,
Okay.
you sound fine. I think we're good.
Okay.
We're just going to go with this again. And then I think the best thing, aloha from Hawaii.
Thanks, Mark.
Mark, I think the best thing for us to do, Lauren, Alan, and I, is to do a pretend live. There's test versions on Instagram, and we're going to do that before our next recording next week. So we've got this all ironed out because we should have done it this week, but here we are.
It's my fault. I was sick. It's my fault.
It's a peek behind the scenes. This is fun. This is what people want. They don't want to hear about real estate stuff. They want to see what technical support issues.
My DMs would say different. Nobody asked me about going live on Instagram. They all want to talk about creative financing, how to start, what the realities are, what the interest rates are, if this is a good buy. Those are all the regular DMs that I get.
Well, the DMs I'm getting today are to talk about Jerry Springer. So maybe we can. You don't
Can't
get those?
believe you were actually on Jerry Springer. That's mind-boggling.
It was a dream of mine, and actually, it was quite easy. Just I applied for about 15 different shows. If I recall, it was Ginny Jones, Ricky Lake, Montel Williams, Mother Love, Jerry Springer, everyone. And they all called me back. And I had a different story for each one. And I was like, let's just pick the best. Jerry Springer's the best. Let's just do that one. Got my roommates.
I would have went on Ricky Lake personally, but
it was fun. It was fun.
So Alan was on Queer Eye and Jerry Springer.
And
and
the restaurant with Rocco DiSpirito, Change of Heart, which is a dating show, upcoming Grant Cardone real estate show called Real Estate King. I was on Queer Eye a second time. They had a straight man pageant.
Did you win?
I got second. Runner up. First runner up.
Because your Jerry Springer look was shocking.
Dreadlocks to
were
my
those
shoulders?
dreads? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
As much as we want to go down Alan's
yes.
reality appearances, let's talk about real estate.
Yeah, you came up with the topic Landlord Realities, so I feel like you had something to share.
I came up with the topic because I think that there is a abundance of reels on Instagram, on TikTok that show unrealistic portrayals of landlords and responsibilities. And the reason I brought this topic up is because we didn't have TikTok or Instagram back then, so I didn't have any unrealistic expectations. But there is some work, and there's some money, and there's some energy and effort that needs to go into it. And when I see the reels of people sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais, I know Mark can because he's in Hawaii. It gives landlords a bad reputation. And then the other reality of it, which I have a tweet scheduled to go out here later today, is there is nothing I can say or do to get people to stop DMing me and messaging me, calling me a slumlord, because people love to group together all landlords and say that they're scum and they're just sitting on the beach drinking Mai Tais and they're not fixing my broken furnace and they're not doing this and they're not doing that. And the reason I bring this up as a topic for the three of us is because we're in 3 different markets. We're in 3 different positions where, I'm doing single families, Lauren's doing short-term rentals. Alan, I never really even know what you're doing. You're just doing a lot of
trying to piss off as many people and being an awful landlord. Yeah. Go to the
Apartment
beach, drinking Mai Tais.
apartment complexes, but we were all in our 20s when we started. And I think we all got a dose of reality when we started. And I want to share my first dose of reality. I had just turned 22. I was living in the upstairs. My tenant was living in the downstairs. And the tenants don't care if you don't have money. They want you to fix whatever is broken immediately. It doesn't matter if your mom borrowed money, if you are broke, if you're waiting on a paycheck. That first winter, so this was winter of 2004 going into 2005, I learned real quick how expensive landlording can be. And I learned that when the furnace went out, which heated my unit and heated her unit. So I did the absolute best thing that I could. I went and I bought two $10 space heaters, gave them to her, and then I went and I opened a credit card and I found a company that would do it on a credit card. And I got a furnace. So our furnace went out on a Tuesday. We got our furnace on Friday. So the $10 heaters got us over those 3 days. But it gets expensive real quick if you go into this without a solid plan and without any sort of savings. And that's what I did. And then after that, I went and bought another property with no money. So I went down this path of unrealistic landlording. And this is why we had a financial crisis in 2008. I didn't lose any of my 2 properties that I had purchased, but I went into it with a different vision of this is what it really takes to be a landlord. This is what it cost. And it was a mess. And I muddled through it, but it gets expensive quick. And if you go into it with this mentality that I'm going to be on the beach and I'm going to be on vacation and these checks are going to hit every month, I think that that's some unrealistic expectations.
Tom, I'm beginning to think that you don't enjoy real estate. All you have is doom and gloom every episode. It's problem after problem. Do you like real estate investing?
I do. I really do like, and the house that I am working on right now has been out of commission since 2019, and I like putting them back into commission. And while I was at the gym running fast so I could be here, I was picking out the ceiling fans. I was, the finishes are starting to deliver now. The can lights delivered today. We were talking about the porch that needs a permit to be lifted. So I do enjoy all of that. And I really enjoy the finished product, but I think that there's realities that go with it. And I think all 3 of us have faced those realities where we've had to muddle through and figure it out. Because yesterday I got a $9,000 foundation bill that I absolutely did not anticipate. The house, just to put things in perspective, cost me $25,000. So getting a $9,000 bill yesterday was mind-blowing. And at this point, I can either fix it and sell it and probably sell it at a loss, or I can fix it and just keep it and keep going with it. Because even with the $9,000 additional investment, I'm cash flow positive on the property.
Yeah, I mean, I do always admire that about you, Tom, how you are always sharing truly what's going on behind the scenes. And I think you can get to the beaches and the Mai Tais and all of those things. But I think it just takes time, right? It takes time to stabilize your whole portfolio.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about this, I think once before, where it's the properties I've had for 3, 4, 5 years. We've lost Lauren, but we'll continue.
Lauren's still over on Instagram though, so
we lost you on StreamYard, Lauren. But you learn the quirks of the properties, right? The first couple times you don't know where the air filter is, or how often to change it, or when you need to clean the gutters out of the roof. And so once you sort of get in this rhythm, this little dance with your property, it gets easier and easier each year. And it's just a schedule. You got the team, all the personality characteristics of the property. So
I tweeted that yesterday, or I think I tweeted it today, about the importance of building your team and getting these systems. And like I tweeted today about long distance landlording, because that's tough when you're in Texas and your tenant's complaining to you about this or that, and you don't have someone in place. And that's what I had early on. It's expensive and it's tough. So what was one of the first, I didn't anticipate this when you were living in that $99,000 condo in Brooklyn, Mr.
Well,
Corey?
Yeah, everything was just new and there's novelty to it. So I was actually kind of excited by it. But I'll tell you what, the part that always gets me is like, I love finding the deal. I love getting it under contract. Like the dopamine's just pumping and juicing in my brain. And then it's always the mortgage process where I'm like, I need this sheet and I need that. And you're self-employed. So you got to do this and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, it's just, I hate the mortgage process. And then someone told me they're like, that's part of it. Like, you can't do all the stuff you like if you don't actually do some of the stuff you don't like. Like it's just it's a step, it's a checklist to get to the stuff you like again. And I was like, yeah, that's true. And now I worked out, a good way. I found a mortgage lender that I like. I now know what they're going to ask me. It's already in a Dropbox folder. It's sitting there ready. So with their started application, I just share the Dropbox link, and life is easy. But man, those first 5, 6, 7 mortgages was just like, it was painful. It just sucked all I was at such a high, and it brought me down so low that I was like, why am I even doing this? And then finally you close on the property and you're like, let's go look for another property. And you forget about all the headaches and everything. But
yeah, I bought our first 2 properties. And then so we got to the third, and my husband then became involved because we were then married. And he was like, this is really difficult. Like, I was like, yeah, well, like, welcome. Like, I've been doing this in the background for us.
Yeah. But I don't, in terms of land, like once I have the property landlording, I think it was a little difficult because my first few years of tenants were my friends, and then be like, hey, you're late. The lease says, I've got to charge you a $75 late fee or whatever. And actually, everyone ended up just paying it, and there was no argument. It wasn't weird. I was just like, let's just go by the lease. But that could have been very uncomfortable. And, I just learned to have a well-written lease, I guess,
My first roommate, I didn't have a lease. So I bought my first house and I went under contract at 22, closed at 23. And just lived with a guy that I had lived with even in college. So we were like still doing like the roommate thing. And I didn't even have a lease with him. When he moved out and I got another guy roommate, I did sign a lease with him. But like I didn't even have a lease the first time because I was just like, well, whatever, just pay me. I don't even know. I wonder if I declared that.
Huh. I realized this. Whenever I have a 3-bedroom, and sorry, Lauren, but there was always 3 women that would build it or lease it from me, and they lived above me. It was always 3 singles. 2 of them would always gang up on another one. Like without fail, 6 months in the lease, 9 months in the lease, I always had one person come to me saying, I want out of my lease. Can I get out of here? I'm not getting along with my roommates. And I'm like, no, like that, you just got to wait it out. Like, but it was always like every single year it happened. And then that person would move out, they get a new roommate, or they all 3 would move out and get 3 new girls. And I'm like, all right, they're going to be clean. They're going to take care of the place. You can't get 3 college age women.
No, I believe you. Yeah. I believe you. Did you just hear me say I had guy roommates? Like, did you hear me say?
Well, you're mute, Tom.
Hold on. You're on mute on the StreamYard.
Sorry. Yeah, she knew going into this that she was not going to do that to herself. So she caught on quick, even though she didn't have a lease the first time, which I will tell you, I've had some messy leases over the years. And the first time I did an eviction and they started picking apart my lease, I went to this terrible 1-page lease, month-by-month lease. I mean, it took me a lot of leases to get to where I'm comfortable with my lease now, and it's enforceable, and it's not as messy as it was starting out. And that was another reality of, because the second that you have to do any kind of eviction, they're going to pick apart that lease when it goes to court, and they're going to say, well, it says this and it says this. And I learned that the hard way.
Is there anything that you have particular, like from a CapEx perspective, maybe particular bad luck with? For me, it's like ACs. I've had multiple properties where 1 year in, it's like I'm replacing the HVAC.
I've been in that boat with one of my properties. It's even it's under warranty. They come out and it's not under warranty. Come on. It's just like there's a big fight, and then everyone's mad because they don't have AC. It's hot in hot Atlanta, and then you're just like, all right, I'll just get a new one. right?
Like my first house, that was the thing that hit me on my first house is like I was working at Toys R Us. I was making like 28K. It was like 15.75 an hour, but I didn't get like 40 hours. And like I said, I had the roommate. The payment was 725. He was paying me like 550 or something. And the AC like went bad, and it was only like 9 years old. I'm sure it wasn't serviced properly the whole time, and I had to get this new one. It was like $3,000, and I like didn't have it, or like I did, but like that was it. That was like all I had, you know. And then when I bought my second house and rented out my first house, same thing. AC went bad within a year. That was like $4,500. This bed and breakfast that we bought here, one of the ACs went bad in the first year, but my husband was around then, so I made him pay for that one. I was like, I did the last two. You got this.
That happened to me once, where the first time I ever had to call my credit card to raise my balance, because it was Christmas and I was away, and I think the hot water heater broke or something. It was going to cost $2,500. I was like, I don't have that money, and I didn't even have a credit card that went up that high. And I was like, I remember just talking.
You were on Jerry Springer. That's why.
Yeah.
They lowered the limit when you were on Jerry Springer. We're putting him at 1,000.
They were like, this guy has threesomes? No way. Drop that down.
Not just threesome disasters, Lauren. Come on. And so I remember calling my credit card, be like, man, it's like Christmas Eve. Like, hey, can you raise my credit line to $2,500? We don't have heat. And the person just like took like a beat, like 10 seconds, was like, yeah, you know what? I think I can approve this. I'm like, yeah, sweet. And I got it. And I was, but that was first sort of like CapEx that sort of caught me off guard, because this was my second property and I really didn't budget properly for it, kind of thing.
As for me, mine's just all a hot mess. It's a mix of, but at this point, I feel like I've done enough frozen pipes. I've done enough foundations. I've done enough roofs. I've done enough HVAC that I can usually muddle through it and find someone who can do it properly and at a good price. And that's why when I got that price yesterday for $9,000, this guy has fixed foundation for me at 3 other properties, going strong. One of them was an $11,000 property, and I did $8,000 worth of foundation work on it. That's where I'm at. But it's a great property for me, and it produces $600 in profit every single month, and that's one of my favorite tenants. So I have had a hodgepodge of just about everything at this point.
Well, and sometimes that's why you get the property, right? Is people are really scared of foundation work and things like that. And sometimes you get it because it has this deferred maintenance, deferred CapEx or whatever.
I think that's worth mentioning out, because not everyone. I work with a lot of new investors, and they say, oh, I don't want this property as bad foundation. I don't want this property because bad roof or compromised roof. And the way I look at it is everything has a price, right? Like, yes, it does, but everything can be fixed. Like, sure, let's say the foundation's $10,000. Let's work it into the numbers, right? I'm not saying everyone should just shell out $10,000, but if we're getting a $20,000 discount on the house because of a $10,000 fix, yeah, let's go on to the next fix. Oh, the roof is $8,000, but they took $15,000 off, and all of a sudden you're getting this discount. You just have to have the means, credit line, credit cards, if you will, to make up for those deficiencies. But that should all be priced in the house, or at least if it's not priced in your offer. But all it is just getting a quote for this, quote for this, quote for this, all in. This is what the house is worth to me. Make that offer. And I find that those work more often than not to get accepted.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you guys feel like there comes a point where you're like more stabilized? Like, is there a certain length of time you've been investing, or number of properties where you felt like, okay, now because as of right now, we have 14 doors. One is our primary. So we have 9 short-term rentals, 1 midterm rental, 3 long-term rentals. And we've been expanding kind of so rapidly, especially the last few years, that for the most part, the portfolio is carrying itself, but we've had to do some injections ourselves, $5,000 here, $10,000 here, kind of a thing. And I know we're going to have some of that coming up here, despite the fact that we just financed $17,000 worth of structure at 0%. So do you guys feel like there's a point where, because I think we're not going to stabilize for like probably another year with the 4 properties in those stores that I mentioned. I was just wondering if like, did I just run my numbers completely wrong, or is that normal?
I think go Tom.
For me, that's normal. And then if I feel too stable, I'm like, oh, I better go buy another crack house because things are going too smooth.
Yeah.
So you need to figure that, so I think that that's a normal part of it. I don't think that you ran the numbers wrong. What are your thoughts, Alan?
Yeah, I think about 3 years in, I feel like I know everything. Like it's either 3 years in or like the second tenant. When that first tenant kind of moves in and then moves out, like we've gone through a whole life cycle, right? At least 1 year, if not 2 years. And I sort of feel like everything that would have happened with someone living there has occurred, or it's noticeable once they move out and I come back in and I'm like, oh, wow, didn't know this was happening. So I think that's sort of, and then the numbers get really good after that. You do your best guess moving forward. You're going to have to maybe come out of pocket to kind of, oh, I don't want to put a Band-Aid here. Let me do the extra way of fixing this so I don't have to fix in the future. And that sort of ruins your numbers first couple of years. But yeah, by that second turnover or 3 years in, then it's like, okay, this is going to be a well-oiled machine. Let's move on and make my life difficult with a new property, like Tom said.
And I mean, there's times like last year, I'm like, man, I've made too much on this property. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to replace the HVAC in December because this has been an issue every summer. And I don't want to have to keep redoing this HVAC every time around.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. I'm not looking forward to our 6-unit. The ACs are 10. And so we did like a bunch of maintenance. Of course, we did maintenance on them last year. We're like, we're going to get a lot of life out of these. And then like 3 of the 6 broke after that. I was like, we should just left them alone. Let them be all clogged and whatever. They were all running at least.
I have some friends who their AC on the rentals in sort of a rougher neighborhood, they just keep getting stolen. So they're like, we just don't offer ACs to our tenants anymore. You have to have a window unit. And it's,
yeah.
And
my one in the Murder Street, my duplex there, they were in cages, like locked.
Yeah. And then I've done this before where you just go to Home Depot in the off season, in winter, and then you get all the discount. Like I'll buy 10 window units, $150 each, $250 each.
Phenomenal deal on window units and so where I'm at, I'm in a historic neighborhood and we're not allowed to put central air in. But you are allowed to have the window unit. So I got some phenomenal. I know Lauren's shaking her head, so she's not going to buy in that neighborhood in Toledo for sure.
Ugly. Like I can't stand those window units on those beautiful old houses. I don't. Why wouldn't you want to hide it?
Don't even. I'm trying to get my back porch lifted 2 inches, and it's like jumping through hoops to try and get this approved and that approved. But I did get some phenomenal deals this winter on window units that are more efficient and that are maybe a little bit more attractive from the street, Lauren, because it's one of those U units, so you can close the window almost all the way down now.
Yeah.
So that's my answer. I don't have an answer why they won't let you just upgrade it. But
I'm officially no window units. We got mini splits everywhere.
Yeah,
so
unless
you count the camper's it's kind of a window unit.
I'll tell you though, if you got the window units, although it's ugly, what's great about it is I know that no bill is going to be more than $500 because I'll buy the AC heated window unit, and that's $500. I got some in storage, so like I'm never surprised with like a $2,000 bill when it comes to that.
Right.
I probably already have it in storage, but if not, I got to run to the store and spend $500 when in the middle of the summer. But other than that, buy them in bulk off season, and that's I'm sure tenants sometimes will steal them and break them, but it's still it's a way to just sort of put a ceiling on your expense there.
Well, right now we've been doing these. We've got the. Yeah, we have a bunch of mini splits now.
But I guess it depends on the tenant class. But I am not in these properties. I wasn't able to charge more rent if I had central AC. Like that would be the decision factor for me. Like,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we're STRs, so it's got to be like as nice and quiet, mostly quiet. Some of those wall units hit.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. All right. Financial firefighter has a question. I was tricked by my first 4 to 5 properties. Everything went so smoothly. Tried to scale too quickly. Next 10 has been challenging. Trying to get 10 stabilized at the same time. Not the smartest move. Yeah, it's I've heard the phrase like you can go broke buying good deals. I mean, it's tough because you get excited by some guy. But yeah, I don't know. Once you get stabilized though, financial firefighter, you're going to be set up pretty nicely.
That's where Tom is right now with his 5 or whatever from last year.
Yeah, they're all stable. Everything's producing income except for the short-term rental, which the short-term rental, I got paperwork back, and that's going live when I get to Ohio next week. So everything that I bought last year is actually producing income right now.
Yeah,
I know. I'm excited.
Hugo says, wow, Stay Winning podcast. Yeah. So that's awesome. How long did it take you to get it stabilized? Sorry, did you say that?
It was just a mess of it was a hodgepodge of a year. I'll just say that. So I just got the last 2 into commission so it took almost a full year on some of these properties to get them producing. And I did, and that was me just coming out of I had bought one in December of 2020 that took me over a year to get this duplex up and running. So I've had a couple of years of just like drain. And right now I just have 2 projects going in Ohio, and those are rolling smoothly so far, knock on wood. We'll see as we dive further into them, but those are on track.
I think for us, we were very stable. The money was like coming in. We were kind of stacking it we're basically, by buying this property that I'm in right now, we probably pushed it back about a year, but then everything will be done that needs to be into this property. Our emergency fund will be stacked back up, and then we'll have, some more freedom. And I don't think that's going to stop me from leaving my job probably, but my husband can, do some infusions here and there if we need to.
I say that to mine as well, and he's like, okay. He's kind of like Eric, where he'll go along with it. And
and they're younger. They're behind.
Yeah,
right? I mean, I'm like, dude,
he has his first turn coming. So he bought a rental, and he's had the same tenant in it since he bought it, and it's turning next week. And he's very anxious about the change and the what to expect. And he's like grilling me over security deposit return and how many minutes till I have to get it, and do I do this? And I'm like, oh, you just don't understand.
I think me and him are in the same boat. Like, I sent the rent increase letter earlier in the week, and I haven't heard from my tenant. His 3-year lease is up in July, and I'm like, what do I do? Like, what happens if he doesn't respond? What happens if he's like mad about the increase? Like, all of these things. And then if he leaves, do I do another long term? Do I do a short term? Do I do a midterm? Like, I'm all up in the air.
Hey, and you just had a midterm rental go up this week, didn't you?
I did, my first. So we were going to do long term, didn't get as many bites as we would have liked, and we probably really didn't want to do long term because that's not really our bread and butter. But we decided to go ahead and furnish it. We were just going to put it up as a short-term rental full-time. But here in the Tampa Bay area, we're basically coming out of season right now. We're heading into shoulder season. Like, July will be good, and May will be decent and stuff. But we were like, well, maybe if we can get some of like the traveling nurse types or something like that from now to December, and then do full short-term rental in January. I'm going to give it a week, see if we get any bites. And if not, I can drop it on Furnish Finders from 30-day minimums to 7. And then I'll probably add it to, our owner res, Airbnb, VRBO, all of those things.
I had the exact same question. Maybe you just answered it. Where do you list and advertise your midterm?
I put it on Furnish Finder. That's it. You can do it on Airbnb and stuff like that too. On Furnish Finder, it's like it was like $99 for the year or something. I've just always been super curious about it. So I get a lot of questions about midterm too. And I was like, well, let me do one so I can.
Is Furnish Finders really only midterm?
The minimum, I think what it says for minimum is you can choose when you're creating listing 3 days, 7 days, 30 days, or 90 days, something like that. So you can do as short as 3 days. I just don't know how great that is. And what's interesting is, so people then inquire to you, kind of like it's a long-term rental. And they also can post a need for housing. Of course, everything that's posted right now is people want coincidentally to be here January through April next year. And I'm like, all right. Fat chance you can't have a place for $1,600 in that time. There's no way.
Do you allow pets?
No, I'm not. I'm personally not a pet person remotely whatsoever. So no. Also, my husband, despite the fact that he had dogs growing up, is allergic to dogs and cats. So we don't allow them. We did have our first service dog recently. And the guest called me when he got there and told me, which I thought was a little weird. But I just asked, just confirm service animal, not ESA. service animal, and then that means it has to be with the person all the time, so they're never alone in the unit. And I said, can you make sure you have the vest on it, because I don't want tenants or other guests, because this is at the 6-unit building, I don't want them thinking I like here and there allow pets. Like I want them to know that it's a service animal. He was like, totally cool, no problem. It was a golden retriever, so there was a lot of hair that our cleaner had to deal with. But that was it. So that's the only one that I know of that we've hosted, and that wasn't really a pet.
Tom, do you have a comment about Lauren not being a pet person?
No, because my pet policy is especially for my multifamily, is usually no, 90% of the time. For single family, it's easier, and I do it on a case-by-case basis. And my general consensus with pets is I've had more damage in my units from cats than dogs. And it got real expensive and real tedious and real costly and timely. So typically I'm a no, but there are cases where I've said yes, and I've made that exception.
Yeah, I tried to resist pets for a while, and then everyone knows, all the tenants know the loophole to get a service animal. It's just you just fill out an online thing, and they're like, you have to let me have the service animal. And so then
that's ESA though, right? That's not service animal. That's emotional support.
Yeah, emotional support. That's what it was.
Right.
And so
Right.
then I was like, okay, everything has a pets, but there's an extra $50 a month, which is also the comment we just got. I allow pets extra $50 a month. Yeah. Then I switched to just doing a security deposit, and then I was like, I'm not making anything, because usually if you have a security deposit, they clean up and it's fine. And I was like, man, if I just do $50 a month and not a security deposit, I bet they don't do $600 worth of damage. And that's just sort of been a profit center for me now.
I think that makes sense.
In that.
And also, I'm a human with emotions, which is why I love pets, which Lauren is not familiar with.
I'm emotionalist. I grew up with snakes. I'm not kidding. No, I think it does make sense for single families too, which I don't own any single families either. Yeah, so we did inherit when we bought a place, 3-year lease, and they had a dog, and like the dog was like cool and whatever, but now that dog is gone, and we're just not gonna. I just don't personally want to deal with it. If I do end up in a situation where the vacancy is a big problem, I would maybe go back and consider it. But I literally, like, I don't have dogs, I don't have cats, I don't have plans to have any dogs, or like it's not me. So I'm just I have no feelings when it comes to that.
But I have 2 dogs. Yeah. Aldi and Woody. Lauren hates them.
I don't hate
She writes mean things under the tweets.
Yeah.
Do not.
I get poisoned dog bones in my mail from return address of Tarpon Springs. So yeah, I'll figure.
I am really I really feel for animals. Like I hate when there's animal abuse, and like it bothers me when people buy from breeders and they don't adopt. Like all of those things, it's not personally for me. Some of it is. This is going like deep, but like my love language is like acts of service or whatever. Like it's hard to love a thing that like it only takes. Do you know what I mean?
No, I'm telling you, when I have bad days, they give just as much as they take. I mean, my dog can tell when I get home my mood, and he knows the days not to mess with me and the days to, just come and sit by me because I'm having a really terrible day. And he just chills, especially before I had the second one. The first one really could tell and really changed my, I was in a funk where I just wasn't even functioning properly. And he would come and he knew. He knew from being around me as long as he has, which is over probably 10 years now, how to take care of me as well. So that's
I get that. Eric wants a dog. If ever we are not moving as much, or if we decide to have kids or something like that, I think we'll probably end up with a dog, and maybe my feelings will change as a landlord at that same time.
Yeah, well, Tom's always upset because he's a real estate investor, and his dog is an emotional support animal. Because
please stop. I am not always upset. The only time I get upset is when I know that I have to interact with Alan Corey that day, and I have to see the Jerry Springer or the Queer Eye Look, which I'm assuming Jerry Springer was before. Oh, the dead cat. Yeah, on your MySpace photo.
Oh, Lord, I thought you would appreciate the dead cat.
Yeah.
No, so
I don't want animals to die. I just don't want to own any.
We've really gotten way off subject of Landlord Realities now that we're talking about Jerry Springer and dead cats. So, and I will say this, there were a lot of dead animals in my hoarder house, and
what kind?
multiple different kinds, but I will say this, I kept my partner away almost the entire time we were cleaning it out. And he came in at the, like, when we were like basically on dumpster 10 of 11. So he got the tail end and he was helping me. We were in the living room, and unknowingly he had picked up a dead animal. And then I'm like, you know that you just moved a dead so-and-so. And he's like, no, that wasn't that. And I'm like, yes, it was. And then he went back. He's like, oh my God, you're right. And I'm like, I know, we were leaving it there. We weren't touching it. And you just picked it up and tossed it, So we did have some dead animals in there.
So it's
and
just
that's
like the TV. Like that's what those hoarder shows are. Like they always show 100%.
100%. And that's, people are like, why? I see a lot of good stuff. Why did you throw it away? We threw away 98% because there was a hole in the roof. So animals would run in and out of the house for years. And it was disgusting, and it was a life experience, and I don't know that I could do another hoarder house. Have you done a hoarder house, Alan?
I guess I wouldn't call it a hoarder house, but it was like, if I didn't buy it that week, it probably would have turned into a hoarder house within the next year or so. But it was like a half hoarder house, I would say. But I found some dead cats and stuff, but it wasn't because of hoarding. It was just like, obviously a vacant building, or a raccoon was trapped in it and couldn't get out, kind of thing. But that's, yeah.
What about the MySpace cat? Where did that come from?
That just showed up in my house in its full taxidermy form. So I lived in a house with 5 comedians, so everyone had weird props, and weird things would just arrive and show up on our counter, and so that was just life back then, I guess. The good old days.
Stick with that story, Alan. So I want to try and wrap this with like words of wisdom for those, because I think all 3 of us, even this week, have gotten, I want to get started, but I'm scared. I want to get started, but I'm nervous. I want to get started, but it's expensive. Here's my realities, and I'll let Lauren and Alan share theirs as well. I started with $9,000, which was Gap stock, which I was purchasing unknowingly because my father filled out my paperwork. I cashed it in, and I bought this duplex with that money because I had like $12 in my checking. I'm glad that he filled out my paperwork when I was working at the Gap, because I had a down payment without knowing I had a down payment. I was able to muddle through the majority. And I think that all of us, as we've bought properties, we see what happens when people jump in and can't muddle through those. We inherit the foundations that are messed up, the HVAC that hasn't been serviced in 10 years, the hot water heaters that are, rusted and pouring out brown water. I think that if you want to make a go at this, you have to set yourself up with the expectations that it's not going to go as planned, and it gets very expensive very quick. So if you're on the line and you've got that $10,000 emergency fund, I think that you putting an extra $1,000 or $2,000 so you sleep better in there is what I wish I would have done starting, and I would have had more than $12 in my checking. But I think that if you have a desire to do this and grow your real estate portfolio and do it, you just have to go into it knowing that it doesn't go as planned. It can get expensive quick. There's years that all 3 of us have been in the red, and then there's years that are fantastic. And that's really how you have to go at it and understand you got to take the good with the bad, just like any job or any career, any vacation or whatever it is, because it doesn't always go as planned. So that's kind of my 2 cents is, 1, stack your cash. And even as Lauren's transitioning away from her job soon, I keep saying, Lauren, stack that cash, stack that. You're going to be happy that you have the stack of cash. So when that HVAC goes out, that water heater, that foundation, whatever it is, she's like, hey, I've got it. I don't have to charge up the cards and ask for credit increases like Alan Corey. I don't have to go on Jerry Springer or Grant Cardone's show for exposure. I've got money that I've made myself, that I've earned, and it's in the bank accruing interest because I've put it in a high yield savings, and I'm ready to go. So no, Alan, I wasn't done with my speech. Lauren goes second. You get to go last so you can come up with the best comeback for this.
Yeah, your 2 cents has turned into a roast.
It isn't a roast, though, if it's true. Okay, so that's my 2 cents. I think that this is how I escaped my traditional 9 to 5. Alan, obviously, real estate got you out of it. Lauren is about to make that same transition that you and I have, where we don't have to go to that PTO draining job. And Lauren keeps saying, I'm almost out of PTO. I'm almost out of PTO. I'm like, girl, PTO, I don't miss that at all. And you know what? I realize I'm not over there getting paid, but man.
Is this public knowledge, Lauren? Is this these thoughts? Are these public knowledge?
It is now.
I've seen them in tweets, so don't act like this is new news. Lauren's like,
it's all right.
And Lauren shares it on her show too, Alan. So that's my 2 cents is, one, stack it while you can. Don't turn down money that, if you can put the extra 2,000 in there, it makes me sleep better. I know that stressing is not going to fix anything, but right yesterday when I got that $9,000 phone call, I have that money set aside for something like this to happen, and I will replenish it by selling the eBay items behind me. And that's really how I go at this. So getting started is feasible. It's not going to be a home run out the door. Even if you get a phenomenal deal, it's still not always a home run because it gets expensive to fix, and that's how you have to go at this. Lauren, I'll let you go next.
In some ways, it not going to the plan is the plan. So, for example, if you just take like a small example of like a short-term rental business, at some point, one of my cleaners is going to miss something or miss a whole clean. It just happens. And I guess it's going to show up and it's not going to be to par or whatever. And I'm going to have to refund that cleaning fee. That's just how it is. Right. So in some ways it's unexpected, but in some ways it's super expected too. So, you sort of just go into it knowing you have to learn to be super flexible. This is very hard for people like me and Tom who are Virgos. You have to learn to be really flexible and go with the flow because we're always trying to control things and we can't. And it actually makes you a lot more resilient of a person. I say this all of the time. If you want to get into real estate to like make money, leave your 9 to 5, reach financial freedom, it does all of those things. It's also going to make you a hell of a lot more resilient as a human being.
Well, apparently Virgos are logical, practical, and systematic in their approach to life. So I wouldn't say Lauren's a Virgo. I don't get that from Tom. But that being said, you're on mute, Tom, and we're all better for it. So that being said, when you get a quote from a contractor, really that quote is your best case scenario, right? Because it's never, hey, it came in lower and we're going to take some money off the quote, right? It's always that quote or higher. So that's your best case scenario on that quote. And so, I always try to pad 20% to make sure that I'm comfortable in case surprises happen, and surprises do happen. And Tom is still on mute, which
I know. I said almost always. Something always comes up.
Yeah. And so, I think this is good planning. I think optimism that I rely on optimism so much that it'll be good. I know this will pan out. Like in 6 months, it'll be better. In 2 years, it'll be better. And it always does. You just wait until it's good. And that's the beauty about real estate is that it's illiquid. So you just kind of keep going. But if you sort of take the pessimistic approach and you're like, oh, this broke and I got to do this and I got to go down to the permit office and then I got to, send an email and everything's so painful. You're going to hate it. I hate being a landlord, but I don't, I'm like, this sucks, but the reward in the future is going to be great. Like I want to give myself a present in 5 years. That's going to be great. I think just that blind optimism is necessary, many times. Because it's not easy. If it was easy, everyone would do it. But it's simple. It's simple. It's just not easy. And but it'll pay off, and it's proven to pay off. And I don't think it's risky because I feel like I'm in control. Even those things happen, I am in control in terms of how I'm going to get it fixed, when it's going to get fixed, and as long as you have sort of that financial budget in the back, that's great. And I don't know.
If all else fails, you can sell bras on eBay. Don't ask me how I know.
Yeah,
That's my backup. That's my security blanket. Let's just get the bras out and start picking out the good sizes and get them listed. I mean, I said this to my husband the other day. He brought out a bag of panties that were really expensive and highly desired. And sure enough, we listed those and we've sold a lot of panties in the last week. I'm just going to say that.
All right, Tom, you made me visualize things I did not want to visualize. And also using bras as a security blanket has gotten me in trouble in the past. So this doesn't work for everyone. This is not universal advice. I think you have to, yeah.
I think that there are 6 Victoria's Secret outlets in the US, and I think that anyone can get in the car and go to Victoria's Secret with $100 in their pocket and come out and turn it into $200. And that was always my goal when I went and did these.
So you're talking about OnlyFans, right?
I am not talking. Hey, I did get a DM from someone who is doing OnlyFans, but they can't get financed for their real estate. And they had lots of questions for me. So that's, it's cash poor, but doesn't have that W-2 job to secure that first loan. So yeah.
Real quick, everyone listening, leave a comment. If we took this show to OnlyFans, would you pay and pay for advice?
I'm not going. And Lauren, I think, has tapped out as well. Okay.
Come on, you got the husband with the bag of panties.
Let's wrap this up. I mean, it's true. He really did. He pulled out, and they were the Brazilian ones, which are the most popular. And I'm like, I haven't seen those in years.
I would never.
No, Lauren, you don't have to buy them. And I'm not a fan, but they sell very well, and they sell for good money.
Used?
We don't sell used panties, Alan.
That probably sell more. You probably sell for more.
100 more. And we get DMs all the time on, are they used? Will you wear them? And I'm like, I'll put them on if you want.
That's now you're reading.
They don't know who they're coming from, but sure.
Now you're reading Lauren's DMs out loud. Oh my gosh!
Yeah. I know.
No, these are my DMs. These are DMs because I sell those locally. So guys always send that, and it's ridiculous. But anyways, we're wrapping the show today because we're done talking about panties.
Off the rails.
We're done.
Jerry Springer.
Yes. Jerry Springer. Dead cats. It's been a day.
Been a wild one.
We will be back next week. Thank you for joining us. And we will stay more on topic for getting started in real estate, hopefully. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.